tonight on Let It Rip.
People are moving into the city as fast as we can build.
A look back at 2022 and a look ahead at 2023. Business booms as more people make their way to the D. New housing and retail space. Hitsville, USA gets a major expansion, and the Lions actually winning? Our panel talking about how this can keep going for years to come. But first,
this is a sad situation and unfortunate situation, and a situation where people are using guns to solve simple disputes. Everybody's got a gun.
Police across Metro Detroit trying to fight crime and make every community safer. Our panel talking about the year that was and how they can move these efforts forward. And so it's time to let it rip. That's where we begin tonight. Public safety an issue in many communities, and Metro Detroit, of course, no exception. In the city of Detroit, it is paramount that we talk about the safety in that city. Attorney Todd Flood, Detroit News columnist Karen Dumas, and Fox News Jessica Dupnack, all here to talk about that issue and more as we take a look at the end of 2022 and the beginning of 2023. And anchor attorney Charlie Langton, who literally is sponsored by coffee and caffeine, joins us now on his 19th hour of work, and we thank him so much for joining us today as well. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
I would like to say Happy New Year to everybody.
Thank you.
As we approach this new year, but it has been, I think, by all regards, a tough one in many circles. And I always talk to Karen about the two Detroits, the two realities, not just of Detroit, but of America. Karen, when you take a look at 2022 as we head into 2023 and the city of Detroit, where would you kind of place Detroit in a progress report of how people are doing? And I mean everybody.
Well, Charlie, not Charlie, I'm sorry, Rube.
It's been a long year.
It's been a long year. It is. It's been a long day, too. But, you know, I still think, unfortunately, we are in a place of transition, which unfortunately has been where we've been far too long. I think residents in the city of Detroit have still not received what they are entitled to and what they deserve and what they've been promised. I think on the other side of that, people that don't live here and people that visit here see all the the shiny, things that are happening. They are enticed by the new narrative, and they believe that everything is fine. So are things different? I think the perception of the city has changed, and there's certainly value in that. But when you see certain areas in the city repeatedly flooding, when you see that there are crimes taking place and shootings taking place at our major events that everybody comes to enjoy, we continue to still recycle the same problems without solutions.
Well, solutions are important, and the hand of law is important in all of this. Todd Flood, I know for a long time you've been talking about the people of the good city of Flint, and after being on that case and then taken off that case, it was a strange year at best. But when we take a look at, we'll get to Flint in a moment, when we take a look at the two Detroits, if you will, when you look at the city of Detroit and you look at the problems that exist, what should be paramount in leadership's mind about what needs to happen first in 2023?
I think what you're going to see going forward is a huge backlog of cases that are going to just make the system so congested in our courts, right? And law enforcement's frustrated. They're sitting on cases and cases and cases that have to get through the system. Once the end mark of that assembly line is our judge, right, and our sentencing, or whatever happens in the case. We need a crash program brought back to the Frank Murphy Hall of Justice, to the Wayne County Circuit Court.
Spell that out for people who aren't familiar with that.
We need a program that's, in essence, going to make it so we can filter through the weak cases, the terrible cases, and make sure we have law and order on the big cases, right? You need to know the difference of where things sit. And we got to have second chance programs. We got to have HIDA programs. We got to have diversion programs. We got to get these cases out of the clogging part of the wheel and start concentrating on the big cases. I think going forward, you will see if we can do that, and leadership does that. We can then uncongest or basically take apart Frank Murphy and all the problems we will have there in 2020.
Charlie, I want to get to you in a moment as well, but Jessica Dupnack has been hitting the streets for some time now, and this has been an incredible year for the people who sit and watch this right now saying, man, when are things going to change? In the city of Detroit, we know that Chief White has had his hands full. The mental health component of this, how critically important is that that they get their hands around this?
Well, I made a list of all the big stories that I covered, and I think out of 20 stories, I think mental health was a component in about half of them. Wow. And we're talking about this bizarre cross-section with police and the community. Already a tense situation the last few years, then you add mental health into it, and I'm talking both sides of it. If need we forget Officer Courts, who was shot and killed by a mentally ill man. So it's both sides. I mean, it's paramount in the reporting that we've done this year. I mean, to think that you have only 4 long-term mental health care facilities in the state, 4 of them with less than 1,000 beds. That's scary. That's a problem. And I think we're finally seeing decades of just no funding. Police are the front line.
And then COVID.
Being
trapped in your home, being isolated, being disenfranchised even more.
Right. You'll hear the chief say over and over that they get, I think they're 3 or 4 times more mental health calls than before COVID. And we see how some of those end. We hear the Porter Burks, Mrs. Miller in her home, shot and killed. Police can't be the only line of defense here.
Charlie, you can't arrest your way out of this situation. You got to try to not fix the mental health problem, but at least start fixing it.
Well, I think if we're talking about mental health, there's no question about it, but I think we put too much emphasis on the cops. I think the cops need to have more benefits. I think they have to be better trained. They have to have more tools in their toolbox. And I think that once we realize that the police officers do an amazing job, and if people would cooperate with the police officers, I think a lot of crimes will be solved. What I don't like to see cities taking police officers from other cities. I know what's going on, and some of it is because of funding. It's because of money. Yeah. And listen, these cops, they don't pay into Social Security, so they have medical benefits, and if they retire early, they get no medical benefits. We already know they got a little bonus this year, a good start, but it's only a start. I think we need to pay police officers and firefighters as well, and I think we have to instill somehow the respect in them. And I don't know how to do it necessarily, but I think there's got to be an emphasis that
they
have
Social
these
Security
police
officers. They don't receive Social Security.
They don't get anything.
These officers are not social workers. They're getting paid a wage that when they sign up for the police academy. Yes, they're taught in a certain extent. And Jessica, you can kind of fill the audience in more on this because you have law enforcement in your family. You understand this. It's not just about going through the police academy and saying, okay, now I'm prepared to deal with a tough situation. These mental health cases, they deserve mental health care. How do you tell an officer who's not getting paid a lot of money to start fixing that problem? He can't, or she can't.
And I think piggybacking that, MCOLS, which is the certification for police officers, they require defensive tactics training 1 time per year. Yeah. 1 time for 8 hours, 16 hours. How can you expect officers to enter these situations and handle it appropriately when the training just isn't there?
We've lost a lot of institutional knowledge.
But there was a program that was either eliminated because the administration wanted to take and have their own program. I think it was in 2 precincts, the CAPA program in partnership with CNS Healthcare, where there were mental health professionals that went out with police officers on certain calls. So, I mean, and we were just talking about this, some of the solutions to these things are really kind of simple. It's not brain surgery.
Well, give us a solution.
Well, I mean, I think, again, we were talking about how to triage calls that come in. Not everything is an automatic crime. Maybe there is a need for mental health intervention, and should a social worker or a mental health professional go out on that call. So yeah, there is some training that should be provided to the police officers, but at the end of the day, there's also a need for mental health professionals to intervene. So we need to be able to provide that.
Maybe we'll give them immunity, so people like Todd Flood and
have a little more work on this.
I don't know about that, maybe, but
Todd, I want to talk to you about your impressions of how the city, yes, crime-wise, but also in other ways, is going. The mayor made a promise at the beginning of his first term that he wanted to increase the population of the city of Detroit and tear down the number of blighted homes. You actually were charged with the responsibility at one point by Mayor Duggan to make sure that happens the right way. How's he doing?
Well, I can tell you this, there's no playbook for a pandemic, right? And during that pandemic of trying to take down blighted houses and get staff and contractors and everybody put into that chain, I think he's done a phenomenal job with all of the hurdles he had to overcome. I can tell you this much. I can unequivocally tell you this. I started with this program at the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office of taking down houses under Mike Duggan under the nuisance program.
Right.
And we had, a street with, this is where the crack was, this is where the heroin was, this is where the weed was. He wanted them all down. I'd come in and I'd say, hey, boss, I got a house down today. How come you didn't get 3? Right? So every day, the demands he puts on his staff to make sure, and he crosses every T and dots every I with making sure, getting the account for all of the houses he can get and the buildings he can get that are filled with crime. I know this man, I know he does it, and he's diligent at doing it.
Karen Dumas, you've been a critic of this administration for some time. You write about it in your column, but you also appreciate the good things that are happening. What do you think about what Todd said?
And I don't want to say a critic. I live in the city. Yeah. I'm a resident of the city, and I've also worked in the city, so I understand that there is not a magic wand. There's no magic potion, but let's not overlook the residency component, because that was a promise made, and we're continuing to lose population for those very reasons. The fact that we're still, crime riddled in the city of Detroit. We still have the issues of demolition. There are also questions about the allocation of demolition dollars. There's also a question about the land bank. So, while the accountability is not quite where it should be. So yeah, you can be, and there's no, Mike has been a bulldog since he's been with the Wayne County, since he was Wayne County prosecutor. We understand that and the push, but I want to see fewer ribbon cuttings and more results.
I want to talk to Jessica Dupnack about Oxford. It has been, of course, it wasn't in this year where that shooting took place, but the recovery certainly, at least in earnest, started this year. But the shock was still resonating at the beginning of this year. School safety, moms and dads who are watching this right now, you cover this every day. Are we getting closer to making schools safer?
I mean, I'm sick of covering it. I'm sick of rushing up and seeing parents, terrorized. I know Charlie can attest to this too. And really, for the folks in Oxford, they'll say it's ripping off that scab every time you get these false alarms. And every time I go out there and I see these parents, they want to talk about guns. I mean, that is what comes up every single time. And despite which side you fall on, that is what comes up. And as far as Oxford and just the Crumley trial in general, we saw that play out this year. I mean, it almost gets buried in everything, but that was really front and center for us too, and just going through and learning just the horrors of that. But again, mental illness crops up.
Right. Do you arm teachers?
No.
I don't think you do. No, I don't think you do. Teachers don't have to do that. Again, that's putting more of a burden on teachers.
If they want to.
If they want to. No, I don't think so. I don't think you need a teacher. I think if you have a cop in every school, that's a different story.
Sure. Todd, you were shaking your head.
Yeah, no, you don't arm teachers. The liability and the things that can happen with that. I'm involved intimately in Oxford. I can tell you it's an indelible imprint on my mind when I watched the video, all of it. This is a very sad case, to Jessica's point, the mental health aspect of it. This kid was in a crisis. Everything starts at home. These parents, derelict in every duty you can possibly imagine when you read and went through that exam. This is a tragic case that should have been prevented every day of the week. Unfortunately, we lost the adults here. We lost the parents, and we lost people that had a duty to make sure everyone else was safe.
Our three panelists, before we go to break, optimistic or skeptical about 2023 based on this rough year? Todd?
I'm always glass half full. We're going to have hurdles, but I think we're going to put ourselves in positive places based on a community of amazing people like you two and everyone around us.
Karen, optimistic or skeptical, or both?
Realistic. That's going to be my approach. That, we have the potential, we still have problems, but I think that if we eliminate some of the process, we'll start to see more progress.
Jessica Dupnack, hitting the streets every day. Optimistic, skeptical?
I hope this year that people get sick enough to stop talking about it on social media and maybe start taking some action. I'm sick of reading about it. I'm sick of talking about it. I think some of these big issues that we just inundate ourselves with, let's do something.
Well, we care. All of us have one thing in common. We care deeply about this community, and we want things to get better and for a better year. Jessica, Karen, Todd, we thank you for your time today here on Let It Rip. When we come back on the other side of the break, we're going to talk about culture, from sports to music and the arts. There's a ton of stuff that makes the East Side the place to be. We're getting a look at how leaders plan to make it even better. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Let It Rip. As we look ahead to the new year, we're focusing on the things that make Detroit great. Joining us now, the host of Blaine and Lauren Mornings on 96.3 WDVD, Blaine Fowler, and Detroit Arts and Culture Director and formerly nationally syndicated columnist for the Detroit Free Press, Rochelle Riley. We've been trying to get her on the show for, I think, about a year now, so we're thrilled that we can round out the year and get her in the studio.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rochelle, for making our wish come true. Christmas came a little late, but you're here, and I'm glad. Fox 2's Brandon Hudson, who's covered so many stories about culture for us here, and really the city's enormous and incredible story that continues as one of our newest anchor reporters here. He's just, certain people just fit in, and when Brandon showed up, it was just like, okay, this guy belongs here, and he's probably been here for years, and we just thank you for being
I
here.
appreciate it, because a lot of that was you guys at Fox 2 accepting me, the people in Detroit accepting me. So this is one of the first times I've been in a market that people have just shown love from the jump. And I know a lot of that, it deals with Fox 2, and I appreciate it.
Well, I'll tell you what, Charlie Langton, our anchor attorney here, is one of the first to welcome so many, including your new co-anchor, Liz Lewin from Buffalo.
She was so happy to get out of Buffalo, let me tell you. She couldn't wait to get to Detroit.
Sadly, she got out right in time. A terrible story unfolding there. But here in Detroit, let's talk about where we're headed. As we look at 2023, we do have to take a look at where we are. And I think it's safe to say that the last conversation was kind of the more serious conversation about some of the things that we have to fix. But what are some things that are actually fixed that we can celebrate? Rochelle, you've been a part of this city and the city's story for so many years. What is it about Detroit that makes you excited when you wake up in the morning?
Everything. I am literally, I've had enough of the negativity about where Detroit is and how we grade Detroit with a report card that's different from every place else. I've been here for 22 and a half years. I've never been the victim of a crime, and that's because I conduct myself like I live in New York or Chicago or New Orleans. We are not so different that somehow Detroit is this, poster child for everything that's wrong with American cities.
I got to tell you, it's so interesting. And my wife is from New Orleans, and I lived there for more than 7 years. And right now, it's not safe to go into the French Quarter, into the downtown, because cab drivers are being assaulted and hurt. People are being stabbed on tourist streets. Yet the national media chooses to turn their head to that. And as soon as something happens in Detroit, it's go time. Blaine, that has bugged you for years.
Low-hanging fruit.
Right.
The lowest hanging fruit. Whenever I hear, like, watching coverage of a football game or anything where the Lions are involved or any of our teams, and there's always some little crack about Detroit. It's like, really? You haven't been here in like 15 years.
Right.
Shut up. Don't talk about Detroit. The only people who get to rip on Detroit actually live or work in Detroit, and that's it. And you're absolutely right. This city is as safe as it's ever been, and I work in the Fisher Building. I've been there for 19 years, going on 20 years at DVD. I've never felt uncomfortable or unsafe.
So, Charlie, are there two stories here going on? Because there are some people who are watching right now going, are you kidding me? Have you been to my side of town where things kind of feel dangerous sometimes? Or are we talking about what every big city deals with? Chicago, Los Angeles, New York.
Well, listen, if we fix the giant slide and we get the rats out of the Lafayette going out and the Lions can win, we're doing something right.
Dude, there's a lot of good things happening there.
I don't know. Listen, there are a lot of areas in Detroit. I had breakfast in Eastern Market today. I love Eastern Market. I love going to even Greektown. It's sometimes a bad route. Listen, there's a lot of great places. But let's go to Southwest Detroit. Let's go to Del Rey. That area is changing a lot. Let's go to Corktown. Let's go to Corktown. But let's go to Indian Village. Go to the east side of Indian Village, the west side of Indian Village. Those are beautiful areas. And there's so many little restaurants popping up, little donut stores, Jefferson Chalmers area. I could go on and on and on about Detroit, how good it is.
I'll tell you what.
Let me just really quickly be clear. I am not trying to downplay anything that anybody's suffering with in the neighborhoods where they live.
Sure.
Yes, that's true, and yes, that happens. I'm just saying, do not paint all of Detroit with that brush.
Yeah.
We have so much great stuff that's going on, and those are the things that have to happen for the city to rise, for us to get people to move here and buy homes, so we have the property taxes to pay more officers and to hopefully get social workers in the police department. There are all types of things that happen, but you have to create a great city for those things to happen.
Brandon, you've talked a lot about this great city and what is being attracted to the city right now. You've covered what's coming our way. We have the NCAA men's tournament that's coming here in 2027. Yep. You also have something coming up with the NFL draft. Talk about that for a moment.
So here's the thing. I worked in Philly when the draft came there in 2017. It is one of those things that will transform a city, because you're not only bringing in fans from all 32 teams, but you're bringing in a lot of people who may not know about the city. So when you talk about Detroit and you talk about all the bad things that have happened, people are going to come here. in 2024, they're going to be surprised at how clean downtown is, at just how nice the people are, and how many attractions are there. That is the one thing that I noticed coming into downtown Detroit. I was just astounded at just how great it looks compared to how people talk about it beforehand. So you're gonna have a lot of people that come in here as tourists. They're gonna, come in here, and hopefully, you win some people over. So when they have a son or a daughter who graduates from college, they want to look at Detroit, and they want to move to a city like Detroit. They don't want to move to Chicago. They don't want to move to New York City. They don't want to move to Philadelphia because those cities are too big, and they're really expensive. They want to come to a city that is affordable, and Detroit fits into that criteria.
Walkable, affordable, with 400 new bars and restaurants in the city in the last 5 years. Blaine, when you do this sell, when you're talking to people, is it an upsell? How hard is it when you talk to your relatives across the country or even up north?
Well, it's funny because my wife's family's from Minnesota, and they were just in town recently to visit, and they were just like, they couldn't wait to go to Eastern Market because they went there the last time they were in town. And they want to check out, they want to drive by Little Caesars Arena and see everything that's popping up in that area. And they want to go down to Campus Martius. All these places that we all know about, right? These are places now that people are expecting to visit, return visitors are expecting to visit. So it's I don't have to sell anything. Just come.
Just show up.
Just give it the eye test. Does it look good? Does it feel good? Okay, cool. Check. Good. What's for lunch? We got a million places to go.
And good luck getting a reservation. Favorite restaurant right now? No, Charlie, by the way, and his wife Lisa, they are the most. I mean, he's a few years older than me by just 3 or 4 years, and he has more energy than I do. And you make it out everywhere. Where are the hot spots that we're not talking about on TV every day?
I'll get in trouble if I mention some names.
Well, just a couple. You're not going to mention them all.
Open Reel is a great new restaurant. I love Grey Ghost. I love She-Wolf. I love Frank's Deli in the Eastern Market. I like a little ham place on 4th Street in Southwest Detroit. I'm going to get in trouble there. I think the National Bakery is great on State Fair near 75. I could go on and on and on.
Rochelle Riley, when you walk into any one of these places, how authentically Detroit does it feel?
Actually, it feels authentically great, and then it feels authentically Detroit. You walk in, and you could be walking into any major restaurant anywhere, and I go to every city all the time.
Yeah.
And it's just the same. And then all of a sudden you meet Detroiters, people who love you, who love that you're there, who are friendly. And let me say to what Brandon said, it is not just downtown. Everything that's happening on Livernois, and I can tell you, I'll get in a lot of trouble. Good
Avenue of Fashion.
Avenue of Fashion, good cakes and bakes, my favorite. I'm so sorry because I went to Astoria for years, but I got to have the lemon cupcakes, Good Cakes and Bakes.
Lemon cupcakes.
Yes,
you're talking.
They're fantastic.
Yeah, they're great.
And there are all these things. Let me give you an example because you said what's coming up. We're activating my office, arts alleys around the city. None of them are downtown because downtown's taken care of. There are plenty of people who are doing downtown. We're activating arts alleys in residential areas around the cities. We are number 4 in the country in creation of new murals. So we've got a whole program going on. We're going to have murals all over the place. We're painting this city. Everything that we're doing to make the city someplace great is to continue to try to increase population, to continue to have people feel that same sense of pride that I feel being here. I'm not here because I'm stuck here. I'm here because I love Detroit.
And so, and Blaine, I want to get final thoughts with everybody here after the break. So please keep your final thought with you. But music, the Motown Museum expansion is incredible. I
drive by it every day on my way to work.
Yeah.
It's the best. I have not been in yet. So for the expansion, I've been there, before, back in the day, but it looks amazing what they're doing at the Motown Museum and all the different shows that are coming to town this year. I mean, I don't know Taylor Swift apparently is doing 2 shows.
Good luck getting tickets.
Good luck. Hey, we have ticket giveaway. Plug my show, Tuesday morning, 7:07, 96.3 WDVD.
Blaine, we thank you so much for your time today.
And the plug.
And your plug. See, we wrapped it right at the plug. Get him out of here. Perfect. Blaine, we thank you. Rochelle, always a pleasure. Brandon, thank you for the work you do every day and continue to watch. And we'll be back after this with some final thoughts.
One new restaurant or bakery or something new in Detroit at least once a month for this whole year.
Very important.
On your cheat day, go to Supino's. Pig out.
Pig out. Supino's is delicious. Rochelle.
Don't argue about whether the glass is half full or half empty. Just drink from the glass.
Love that. Brandon.
Look, let's enjoy the ride because, look, Detroit is on a fantastic ride right now. Let's enjoy it because at some point the ride stops. But while we're on it, let's enjoy each and every moment.
Are you talking about the giant slide? That
I think
ride?
he is, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's all the ups and downs.
I want to thank all of you for joining us. I will always say that it is the people that make a city, not the other way around. You get to know a Detroiter, and you know how damn great this city is and will continue to be. I get choked up saying it because I absolutely love this city as well. That does it for this edition of Let It Rip. We thank you for joining us.